Well, winter's finally given up its grip on the Midwest, and I'll tell you what's really cool about that. It's open water, the walleyes are just starting to move up shallow, and it should be a good bite. We're out on Big Stone today. Stay right where you're at. We're gonna start the open water season of Fish Head right now. Boy, that is so neat when you are able to fire in with a jig like we're doing and get them to hit, because when they hit it, they just smash it. And I'll tell you, I really want to show you what we're doing because it's so much fun to fish this way. All I'm doing is throwing a jig and a minnow, and that guy got himself unhooked. That's a break. We'll throw this guy right in the live well, and then I'll show you exactly how we're catching him here today. That's a good start right there. Here's what I'm doing. It's just the simplest way to fish that I know of, and in fact, I think most people learn to fish with one of these tied on the other end. It's just a simple Lindy jig. Now, all I'm doing here is I'm throwing a 16th ounce jig, and I'm pitching that in there, but one of the keys today is I'm not letting it constantly hit bottom. I'm actually swimming this thing back. Now, you can go one of two ways. You can use a plastic, or you can do what I'm doing today and use a minnow, and I think a lot of times it can make a huge difference. Earlier today, I ran a plastic for a little bit, and I never got touched. Then I missed a couple fish on a minnow, so it told me right away that they were really keyed in on that bait. One of the things that'll make a difference though is when the water's cold like it still is, this bite's just getting going. They're really gonna be keyed in on minnows. And now as it warms up, you might be able to get more fish on those plastics, and you might get some bigger fish as well. But all said and done, throwing a jig in there, working it back, and what I'm trying to do is get into about a foot of water and then work it back to where I'm at in about 4 feet and just constantly run through it. Now, what I did here is I missed a fish earlier, so I quick threw the anchor down because I knew that I could get that fish to bite again, or at least there was one there, and there's never just one at this time of year. There's piles of them. I'm gonna get a minnow back on, and we're gonna get back in there and get another one. That guy was a long ways off the shore, and that's something I'm really starting to figure out here today. Is my plan when we got here was to catch fish right up on the shoreline. And you know, one of the things you got to keep in mind throughout a day is the fish aren't always going to do exactly what you think they're going to do. But here's what's happening at this time of the year, and here's why we're choosing the locations we're fishing. These fish, we're in the mid-40s last week. All of a sudden now we're getting a calm day today, and the temperature is shooting up. And what's happening is that water temp is moving a lot of these fish in, but they're not really tuned up into the spawn yet. You can see that these are all pre-spawn fish, and these males aren't milking yet. So they're sitting out just a little bit off the edge. Now, as soon as we get just a couple more degrees in water temp, what's gonna happen is these fish are gonna rush right up on top of them rocks. And all of a sudden, you're gonna get them pitching in tight to shore. But what I've started doing now is spending a little bit of time casting a little bit more parallel to shore. Now, as far as picking the right locations, all I'm looking for, it's really, really simple. Just look at that contour map and look at any areas where there's a little point. Back behind me, I've got a little point, and up in front of me, I've got a little point. And all I'm doing is I'm fishing that cup area. The other thing to look at, and it's really easy, and it's why they call this Lake Big Stone, I'm looking for any areas that have rocks or gravel, because here's the thing, that's what walleyes like to spawn on in a situation like this. And they're all gonna come up here, and eventually it's just gonna be nuts. There's gonna be tons of them up here. But find those little points, fish around them, and then fish those inside cups, and you're gonna be able to catch fish all the way through. Those long, straight shorelines that may not have any of those rocks, I usually avoid those at this time of year. What I'm gonna do is find those areas where those fish can get in, feel secure, come in there, they've got the right spawning habitat, and they're gonna eat while they're in there as well. Another great eater right there. Oop, there's one. Look at that. He ate that jig. That's fun right there. You know what? That tastes good later today too. boy, he just thumped it. Now that one thumped it for the first time all day. They've been pretty light little pickups, but that guy there, he just nailed it. Perfect, another good eater. You know, this is such a fun bite. And I'll tell you, one of the keys though, to what we've been able to do today, and I'll throw him in the live well too, another great eater to go home. But one of the keys to what we've been able to do today is I've made a few different changes. One of the things I did is I went to a really light jig, because when I got that first fish, it was kind of strange. He was out further and I had actually kind of stopped my bait, and I was just kind of sitting still and trying to think my way through what I was going to do next, changing my cadence, and he grabbed it. So one of the things it told me is I had to move slower. So here's what I did. I actually have gone to a 32nd ounce jig. One of the things you want to look at doing throughout the day, if you get out here and you get the chance to do this yet this year, is make sure you're switching different size jigs, because here's the thing. As light as you can go means the slower you're going to be able to move and still swim it up above those rocks. If you go heavier, it's going to bounce and drop down in those rocks. And for some reason, these walleyes today want it a little bit slower. Now, maybe they're going to crank up as the day goes on and you can get away with that heavier jig, but try different sizes of jigs, because it's going to vary the rate of speed with which you're moving that bait, and that can make a huge difference. Hey, I'm really excited to be back out on open water. It's going to be a lot of fun this summer. We're going to get out and we're going to do exactly what we've done the last couple of years on Fish Head. We're going to run all over the Midwest. We're going to show you some great bites, show you exactly how to catch them, and it's going to be up-to-date current information. So please check back with us each week. I'm Jon Thelen. We'll catch you next time.